Hello and welcome again to another edition of MetsMusings. Hope you all had a good All-Star break there. Now, I know it's been a few since we did our last episode, and that's because things have been a little hectic around here, and time has just gotten out of control, and it's been difficult to find time to put together a show. But we are back now, and hopefully, we'll try to be more consistent. Still lots of things going on around here, packing up the old house, and so it's very time consuming, and um, it just I'm not as young as I used to be, so there are just times when I just don't feel like doing anything else. But we'll try to be more consistent as the season rolls on in the second half. But let's talk about the Mets. They finished the first half of the season 42 and 48. Uh, I estimate they would have to go probably at least 46 and 26 in the second half to make the playoffs. Maybe. It's going to be tough. They are 4-5 in the second half so far, going into a series now with the Yankees, a two-game series, the second part of the Subway Series, and this team does not look like a team that is ready to put together a long run and get back into this pennant race. They just not we're not seeing the signs. I know we saw the 6 game winning streak before the All-Star game, but then we also saw a couple of game losing streak coming out of the shoot in the second half. As I said, 4-5 so far. There's just no consistency. They'll look like gangbusters one game, and the next game they'll be terrible. Uh, Even game to right in a game, they can look like terrific against the White Sox. That one game built up a 7-run lead. At one point, it was 11-4. One point, it was 8-1, and then it went to 11-4, and they ended up hanging on 11-10, and Chicago had the tying run 90 feet away. So, uh, right in one game, we see the struggles that the Mets have been going through all season, and a lot of it is the bullpen and the starting pitching. Now, the starting pitching has gotten a tad better, and we have welcomed back Jose Quintana, and he pitched a pretty good, solid 5 innings in his first start back. Hopefully, he'll build on that. Verlander was excellent in his last start. He goes tonight against the Yankees. Scherzer had a fantastic start and then came back and was bombed again. So he's been up and down trying to figure it out. He thought he had it figured out mechanically, what he was doing wrong. He fixed that. As I said, looked terrific in that game. Next game came out and got hammered. So the starting pitching hasn't been doing. Carlos Carrasco has been struggling. The starting pitching, and then when they get a great starting pitching and have to turn it over to the bullpen has blown some of these games, as was the case with the White Sox. That 11-10 game, big lead, and then good pitching before. I think that was Verlander, probably his last start. And then the bullpen kept giving up run after run after run, and they were able to hang on. David Robertson hung on at the end to get the victory. But this is not a team that looks like it's on the verge of putting together a 14-game streak, much like Atlanta did last year. That's the kind of streak this team needs, but I just don't see it. I don't see the horses getting together and pulling the wagon for 14 games and 14 straight wins. They're just not doing it. If the offense scores, the bullpen stinks. If the starting pitching is great, the bullpen blows the game. If the pitching is great, starting pitching and bullpen, then the offense isn't hitting. It's just been that way all season. Can't see them putting together a streak, and it's a shame. But a lot of the high priced talent is not performing. I mean, let's be honest. Lindor has had a power year, but hasn't done much. He's striking out a lot. McNeil is not having a very good year. After winning the batting title last year, he's hitting about 70 points lower this season. The best guy offensively that they've had truly has been Tommy Pham, and he was kind of an afterthought. He was a guy that was added on for depth, got him on a low contract, and he's been the guy that's probably been the most consistent offensive player that they've had all season. Pete Alonso has been a complete bust this year. I know he's got 26 homers. I don't want to hear about the power, the power, the power, the power. How about the strikeouts, the strikeouts, the strikeouts, and the lack of contact in big spots? And it's affecting his defense. He's throwing the ball all over the place. He's missing ground balls now. Uh, they need to sit him down for a couple of days. Let him get a little rest. Maybe he's tired. Some say he's playing with that injury he was out with, the wrist injury. It's still bothering him. Then go on the IL. I'm sorry, those days are gone. You're not fighting for a position or anything like that. If you're injured, then take the time to heal, because quite frankly, he's killing this team. He's not helping the team at all. Not at all. So why bother prolonging this? And now the other issue we have coming up is the Mets and the trading deadline. What do they do? Are they buyers? Are they sellers? Are they somewhere in the middle? Personally, I would be selling and maybe somewhere in the middle. Selling, but selling certain pieces to add pieces to make your team stronger for either next year or the future. They do not want to depart with the farm system. I understand that. I'm not against that. If you've listened, I've advocated not trading any first round picks at all. However, if the right deal comes along, then you may have to consider it. I'll give you an example. Um, the Reds have come out and said that they are willing to trade Jonathan India. Now, he was rookie of the year 2 years ago. He's about, he's got a lifetime 260 average in that, and but he's got some pop. And Cincinnati's looking for young starting pitchers that are controllable. So, do you take a chance? I don't know if they match up at all. If they'd be interested, but we would that would be a David Robertson type, Peterson type, uh, and maybe a prospect. Do you make that kind of deal and bring in Jonathan India? And what does it do? Well, it does a couple of things. It makes Jeff McNeil a full time outfielder, so he knows where he's playing. Jonathan India takes over at second. Jonathan India is fast, and it gives you a boost of speed and makes your team younger. So that's the kind of deals that they should be looking at, and maybe they can spice it up with a prospect, but only keep it down, or maybe some other kind of deal. But that's the kind of thing that I think they should be looking at this particular time. Things that would help build their team, strengthen their team, and it gives you another offensive bat in there. Um, who are other teams interested in from the Mets? Well, there's talk, the usual. Robertson, Ottavino, maybe, because everybody's always looking for relief pitching. Tommy Pham, but he's nursing an injury now. So how does that affect his trade value at this particular time? Let's see. There's been talk about, again, Peterson or a McGill, but both have struggled mightily. So I don't know what you would get for them. Verlander's name has come up quite a bit, as Scherzer's has as well. But, they have large contracts to deal with. Now, Scherzer does have an out at the end of the year, so teams may want to take a chance on that. And if he opts to pick it up, they're out $43 million next year. But you never know. If he pitches well for another team, he may opt out and become a free agent again. Verlander is signed through next year and an option year after that. But, who knows? So a team like San Francisco may take on that kind of money. If the Yankees would take on that kind of money. Do you make a trade like a Verlander for Giancarlo Stanton if you're the Mets? Taking their contract back for Verlander's contract. It's all in the mix now. And accordingly, they have not made up their mind yet what they're going to be looking to do, but we shall see. All right, let's take a quick break and be back and talk about the draft a little bit. By the way, Luis Guillorme on the IL. He's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks. As I said, Tommy Pham is nursing an injury, probably a day-to-day type of deal. Everybody else is Starling Marte is on the IL with migraine headaches. And that's about it. Mendicum was brought up to replace Guillorme and Marte. Mark Vientos is back up. So that's all the latest news so far. Okay, let's take a quick break and be back after this.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for interesting baseball talk, opinions, and history.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for barbecue recipes, tips, and interviews from the world of barbecue. If you like baseball and if you like barbecue, then tune in to Baseball and BBQ. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and BaseballTalkRadio.com.
Did you know that Baseball PhD can be heard on BaseballTalkRadio.com?
Our shows rotate with other top baseball podcasts.
Now don't forget, that's BaseballTalkRadio.com.
With us, we'll help you get a PhD in life through baseball.
With BaseballTalkRadio.com, you'll hear the rest of the excellent universe of baseball podcasts.
Hello, baseball fans. You're listening to Baseball Talk Radio, the home of great baseball talk shows. At BaseballTalkRadio.com, you're going to find great shows like this one with the great Gary Mack and the MetsMusings podcast. And now back to the show.
Okay, and we are back. And now it's time to go down on the farm. Ronnie Maurizio continues to hammer the ball. Struggled a little bit in June, but it's picked it back up in July. And he is just having a fantastic year. And next week we'll talk about whether they should bring him up enough or not. That is, if he's not up by then. Tomas Nido, who was sent down earlier in the year, has found his stroke. He's hitting 364 in July. He's hitting about 268 overall. Tomas is having a hard time getting back to the majors, but maybe he should. And uh, Navarez is not exactly tearing it up, but we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully, he'll be up in September. Tyler McGill continues his dreadful pitching in Syracuse. He's 0-3 with a 10 point something ERA. He's just struggled mightily as all season, and such a shame after the performance he had last year. To come in this year is a big disappointment for Mr. McGill. The draft, we had the draft, and since the last time we talked, and the Mets had a first round pick, 32nd pick. They got penalized because of being over the luxury tax limit there. So the luxury tax was that you lose X amount of spots. I think it was 10. So they picked the 32, and they picked a young shortstop from high school, Colin Hawk. And in round 2, they picked Brandon Sproat, a right-handed pitcher. And round 3, another right-handed pitcher, outfielder Nolan McLean, a two-way player, and they are going to let him go two-way. Shades of Shohei Ohtani. Don't know if he's going to be as good, but this is going to be the trend now. You're going to see. A couple of years ago, Tampa Bay had a young man, and his name escapes me right now, but I actually saw him play for Hudson Valley when they were a Tampa Bay affiliate, and he pitched a fantastic game to get them into the finals of the New York, the then New York Penn League, and played a terrific final series. And when the year that the Hudson Valley Renegades won, and as I said, they were Tampa Bay Renegades, and he was really one of this. Probably the second modern time of a two-way player that we've heard about. He's been hurt with, I think he had Tommy John surgery. So, but Mets are going to have a two-way player, and they're going to let him go. Also in round 3, they assigned Cade Morris, a right-handed pitcher. They got heavy with the pitching here. Round 4, their first pick, Wade Hudopo, another right-handed pitcher, and A.J. Ewing, a shortstop, a high school shortstop. Round 4 was Austin Trassa. They drafted round 5 Zach Thornton, a left-handed pitcher. Round 6, a right-handed pitcher, Jack Weniger. Round 7, Noah Hall, a right-handed pitcher. Round 8, Boston Barrow, a high school shortstop. Round 9, a Nick LaRusso, a third baseman. Round 10, they picked a Christian Pragent, a catcher. And that was the first 10 rounds of the draft that the Mets picked and their selections. And interesting pitching, picking a lot of pitching to supplement and get them into the minor leagues, and we'll see who can make it through and who emerges, like who becomes like the next maybe Jacob deGrom. He wasn't a highly rated prospect, but he emerged and really became a star. So maybe there's another diamond in the rough, and that's what you have to do. It's a crapshoot, the draft, and You draft these guys for positions you think that will be filled. Now, you notice the most of the high school players that they drafted this year were shortstops. They'll grow some of them, they'll fill out, and they'll move them to other positions. That's the way it goes. The 16, 17, 18 years old, you're playing shortstop. When you're 21, you might be twice the size or increase at least a half a size or whatever and move to another position. So that will work out that way. All right, let's take a look at the minor leagues in the second half. Now, the minor leagues, they have a first half and a second half winner. So we're going to give you the second half records as well as the first half records. But this week, Syracuse is 6-14. They're in next to last place in their division, 7 games back. They were 33-41 in first half, so doesn't look like they're putting together a playoff run there. Binghamton, they are in next to last place as well, 7.5 games back, and their record is 7-13 going into tonight's games. They were 35-34 in the first half of the season. Brooklyn Cyclones off to a great start in the second half, 17-7, currently in first place by I think a half a game or so. They were 28-37 in their first half. St. Lucie struggled this year. They're 8-16 with 4 games back, next to last place in their division, and they were 24-41 in their first half. So the only team that seems like they may have a chance to make the playoffs is the Brooklyn Cyclones. Of course, they'd have to win that second half, and it's tough, but with guys coming up and down. But they've been playing some good ball lately, so let's not count them out. All right, as we said, we have a 2 games set tonight with the Yankees. The round 2 of the Subway Series, and that should be interesting if you enjoy that sort of thing. And then the Mets are home to Washington for 4 games. They come in. Now, this could be an opportunity for the Mets to try to put some wins together. Washington is in last place, but has given them problems. But they're in last place in the Eastern Division. And then the Mets will go to Kansas City for 3 games. And Kansas City's got one of the worst records in baseball. So it will be a telling weekend here, and this could be the weekend that decides whether the Mets become buyers or sellers. If the next 6 games are bad, we will see some Mets departing. We'll probably see them going anyway, but what comes back will be interesting. Will there be more deals from more minor league prospects type of deals? We'll have to see what occurs. But we'll be watching that and be back next week and maybe try to get somebody on from the Baltimore Orioles to talk about their amazing run last year and continuing this year. And they have a terrific farm team, so we'll hopefully try to get somebody on to talk about that. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this week's show. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll tune in again. And if you are watching me on YouTube, I hope you'll hit the like button and the subscribe button. The same holds for if you're listening on your podcast, whatever your podcast catcher is, be it Google Play, Apple Podcasts, However you get your audio podcast, please subscribe to the podcast, and if they have a like button, please like the show. It helps us know who's listening out there, and it helps you know whenever another edition of Mets Musing comes about. So until next time, remember to keep the faith, stay optimistic, and let's go Mets. And I'll see you next time on another edition of Mets Musings.